My brother and I do not get on. When we were younger he'd go out of his way to make my life a living hell. To my parents' credit they did tell him off for it when they caught him, but they both worked long hours and didn't have the energy to deal with our arguments. This continued into adulthood. He was salty that he failed his college course the first time around. There was a bad argument in our family a while ago and, I crap you not, it all started because I refused to decorate my brother's living room. I won't go into too much detail, but he wanted a pretty hefty discount. I said no, and he threw a tantrum. You really need to meet my brother to understand just how bad he is. But hopefully this post will do it some justice. Instead of being a grown-up and talking to me, he decided to hook up with my toxic ex-girlfriend and the mother of my child. Due to the rules here I can't go into a lot of detail about what she was like, but she was not a nice person. She never really bonded with our son when he was born, and I was left to do everything by myself. She eventually walked out on us and refused to have any contact with our son. She'll post on Facebook now and then about her beautiful baby boy to get sympathy votes, but that's about it. I have been a single dad for almost 3 years now, and I absolutely adore my son, but it hurts to think that one day he might question why his mum didn't want anything to do with him. How am I supposed to explain that to him? Anyway, it bothered me when my brother told me they'd hooked up together. It hurt even more when he started dating her. It had taken me so long to get over what she did to me and my child, and now my own brother was bringing her back into my life. Yesterday we had a family video call. Parents are high risk and we're not taking any chances when my brother decided to announce that he and my ex were expecting. I just froze. I didn't know what to do or think. I could feel myself starting to cry a little bit and it got a bit harder to breathe. Eventually I decided to just congratulate them and then made up some lie about needing to put my son down for a nap and left. I received a bunch of messages from my brother and his girlfriend telling me that I stole their thunder. After I left, my parents and some other family members started worrying if I was okay and not really focusing on their news. My uncle told me that I should have just been a man and stuck it out instead of making excuses to get out of it. After all, it was expected that our kids would be raised around each other. I feel like maybe I shouldn't have left the call, but at the same time it would have been worse if I'd stayed and had a full-blown panic attack in front of everyone. Some of the family members are split and have argued that I won't be able to avoid my brother and his family forever, but others believe I was in the right to leave that situation. I don't know what to think. Not the idiot, even a little bit. You did the only reasonable thing you could do under the circumstances. And you 100% do not have to play along with whatever happy families nonsense they're up to. So your kids are going to be raised together and you can't avoid your brother forever. No, you get a say in that, my friend. You very much can avoid your brother forever, and honestly I'd recommend you do. This whole situation is a horrible toxic mess. You and your son deserve better. Your brother and ex are obviously the idiots, but also the family members who think you need to be supportive and involved, and especially your uncle. The idea that a woman who abandoned her child with one brother and currently offers no support, emotional or financial, should be celebrated for getting pregnant with the other brother is baffling. Within 2 years he's going to be a single dad, blame you for it and expect your support. Cut them both out of your life completely or as much as you can legally. If you don't have a lawyer already, get one. If your brother does enjoy making your life hell, just imagine what it will be like if they stay together. She'll cry about her other child, and he'll badger you to bring them over, to bond. And sure, eventually, they'll fight for full custody. Get ahead of it now, before they can do that, even if it means giving her visitation. It's better than 50-50 or losing custody. Unfortunately, as a guy, you look down upon in custody hearings. My 15 parents are divorced. As far as I know, there was no cheating, and there was no abuse. They just fell out of love, which kind of horrible to witness. My dad remarried earlier this year, so this is my first Christmas with his new wife and her kids, 9 and 14. They're fine as people. I'm not really interested in acting like a real family with them. I'll be polite and do stuff with them, but I'm just not their sister, and they're not my siblings, which is fine. My stepmom is okay. She's not the evil stepmom you always hear about, but you can tell she doesn't love having me around. I can tell she hates my mom. My dad is middle to lower middle class, but my mom and my maternal grandparents are upper middle class. My dad basically downgraded his lifestyle by a lot since they had a prenup. You can tell that he hasn't adjusted to it at all, and my stepmom probably didn't expect his personal financial situation to be like this. They fight about it a lot. Anyways, I get $100 a week from my mom as allowance. I normally use it to eat out with friends or I just save it. I know it's a lot for a 15-year-old. For Christmas, I'm getting a $900 bracelet, although I'll be paying for half of it with my allowance, even though it's just all my mom's money anyways. My dad isn't getting me anything. I'm spending Christmas at my mom's house, so I sent my dad's family's gifts early. I gave my dad and stepmom one of those Costco snack baskets, which cost $60. I wasn't exactly sure what to get my step-siblings since I don't know them well, so I got my stepbrother a $40 Steam gift card and a $35 name necklace for my stepsister. My step-siblings seemed pretty happy, which was nice to see. My dad, on the other hand, knows that all of this was less than 2 weeks' allowance for me and that I have another $6,000 saved that I could have used. He also knows that I spent a lot more on my friends, with my best friend getting a gift that cost $200. He told me that the divorce cost him a lot, so he couldn't buy the kids or my stepmom nice gifts this year, so he hoped I could step up and give them nicer or more gifts to help him out. He thinks I'm being privileged and that I have more than enough money to share, which is true. But honestly, as I told him, even if their divorce was amicable, it feels unsettling to spend my mom's money on his new family, including his new wife who doesn't like my mom. He pointed out the extreme differences in my Christmas with my step-siblings and said that I should be more generous and giving. Not the idiot. So he's not getting you anything but still expects you to buy nice gifts for his new wife and stepkids. Maybe for Christmas you should get him a big bag to carry all his audacity. You're right, it's unsettling that he still feels entitled to your mom's money. What's even worse is that he's just fine with trying to manipulate you, his own child, to get to spend some of it. Buy your mom something meaningful for Christmas. She deserves a nice gift after all those years she had to deal with him. I understand why your parents split up. Your dad is something else. He and his wife need to do Christmas their way for their family. And you aren't a parent here. Your dad is resentful of you for having more, but that's not your problem or responsibility. You gave generous gifts, and you don't need to hang around people who are trying to take your money. I suggest you buy yourself and your dad the total money makeover to set both of you up for financial success. You could have some serious retirement money if you start investing some of that money now. But it's your choice, no one else's. You didn't have to buy your step-family anything, you were being generous by including them in the first place. Your dad is way out of line by telling you how to spend your money. It would be one thing if he was contributing to your allowance, but he isn't. Since the divorce he has had zero say in how your mother's money is spent. Don't let him guilt you into spending more simply because he isn't able to spend more. That isn't your fault, and he's an idiot for making you feel that way. Merry Christmas. I hope Santa brings you a not-so-greedy dad. I've been married 20 years, and I've never been close to her. She skips over our kids on holidays and hasn't acknowledged a birthday, except her own, for about 5 years. My husband, her son, doesn't speak to her because of what he had from her growing up. My nieces and nephew, 18, 19, and 21, also don't speak to her because she is an awful toxic person. In February she texted me that she had breast cancer. Being a nurse, I jumped into action and got her set up with a visiting nurse, Meals on Wheels, and a housekeeper. I brought her to her first appointment so I could understand what type and the treatment options, as she refuses to wear hearing aids and has a 6th grade education. I followed up with her brother who lives nearby and relayed what he needs to do to help her. Then came her first chemo appointment. It was 4.5 hours. She introduced me as her ride and the idiot to everyone who came in, then sat on her phone talking to her real daughter-in-law, being my husband's ex that he hadn't seen since they broke up in 1998, about me. Never said thank you. Then I got her home and walked her dog, then gave him a bath. Cleaned her house and got her set up with insured drinks and whatever she needed. Still no thank you. Now, I'm in the mindset of she has cancer and she can do or say anything she wants right now. My husband is livid. I didn't even tell him half of it. The more I thought about it, the more I just want to wash my hands of it and pass the responsibility to her brother. He's nice but equally ignorant. Would I be a horrible person? I'm just over her ignorant horrible behavior. Not the idiot. Having cancer does not mean you get to be abusive. This woman is abusive. The majority of her family doesn't talk to her. You should definitely bow out and refuse to help her. Hell, I'd go so far as to block her number because you just know she's going to start hurling abuse at you once you say no. I'm willing to bet that she texted you because she knew no one else would help her and you were soft enough that she could manipulate you. Please protect yourself and block her number. You're the idiot. You chose to disregard massive reasons to not speak with her, reasons involving abuse to your husband and others, to try to help her. Now, you are acting surprised she is behaving this way, and more, you feel bad that you are walking away from it, something you initiated and absolutely was wrong. You knew what kind of person she was 12 times over, you knew the abuse she inflicted on your husband and others, and you chose to help her. You reap what you sow, and while walking away is probably your best option now, you shouldn't have walked willingly into the situation to begin with. You are an incredibly kind person. I would have walked out when I was called an idiot. Call her brother and tell him when her next appointment is and that you will not be involved anymore. You can feel sorry for the condition she is in while refusing to be treated like garbage. You now understand where your husband is coming from. Your time is better spent working on your immediate family who love and respect you. My husband and I, 30 and 34, bought our house 6 years ago. Right around the time we purchased it, my brother-in-law, 32, decided to go back to school full-time. Our house has 4 bedrooms, and at the time I was pregnant with our second child. We had the spare room in our basement, so we invited my brother-in-law to move in with us while he went back to school. He doesn't parent, but he does help pay for utilities and food. Fast forward to now, my brother-in-law has just graduated and will be moving out in February. We also have our third child who is 6 months old. My sister, 32, lives with my mom and stepdad. She has moved out a few times but always ends up moving back home as she has a borderline personality disorder with depression. Her and my mom fight regularly, and I mean explosive, about pretty much everything. She doesn't parent and struggles to work full-time hours. She hates living at home with my mom, but without being able to work, there's not much else she could do. My husband and I were at my mom's and mentioned that my brother-in-law was moving out in a few months and how it will be nice for my kids to have their own rooms. Baby is in our room right now, and our oldest son can have the room in the basement, and how we can do more with renovations. Now that we don't have to worry about it being an inconvenience to someone else, our basement really needs some work done. Well, no, soon after we left, my sister called me stating that it was a perfect situation as she is miserable at home and she could move in with me. I was taken back from her statement as it really was sudden and out of nowhere. She then began to tell me how detrimental to her mental health living with my mom is and how miserable she is. Now, my sister does see a psychiatrist, has done so for many years, and nearly all the blowouts between her and my mom are started by her. Sometimes it's like my mom just breaths and my sister is yelling at her, and while I do agree she needs to move out for both their sakes, I don't want it to be in with me. For one, I want to finally be able to just be home alone with my family, for my kids to have their own spaces, and, as horrible as this might sound, I don't want to be the one responsible for her mental state. She has blowouts with everyone, just not to the extent she has with my mom, and I just don't want the life she has with my mom to become mine and my family's life, especially with 3 young kids. Not to mention the fact that she doesn't drive or really work, so I have no idea how she would get around or pay for anything. I plan on calling her back to tell her I don't want her living with me, obviously more kinder and better worded than that, but am I the idiot for it? Not the idiot, especially since this isn't some life or death situation. She's not trying to escape an abusive partner or parent, in fact it seems like she's the emotionally and mentally abusive one. You have a right to your own house and to enjoy not having someone living with you for a change. I'd absolutely tell her that, because of the situation with the kids and the upcoming remodeling and everything, that it wouldn't be a good idea. Your kids need their own rooms, and from the sounds of it, would be a nightmare for your entire family should your sister move in. Not only that, but your children don't need to have a meltdown or hear her talking things about you. Alternatively, you could always use the excuse that ever since you've had your home, you've always had a roommate and bows the time where you and your husband want to spend time as a family of 5. If her mental state is that bad with a personality disorder, she might greatly benefit from starting medication. I've personally seen two people who had untreated mental disorders tear down into people close to me. My friends became shells at the end of those relationships and took them both months to recover. Still mentally recovering from all of that. It's even worse when it's towards parents who want nothing more than their kids' happiness and well-being. Your parents don't deserve that turmoil. Especially at their age. Please try to kindly and calmly talk to her about medications. Otherwise, she's nothing more than a terrible human being who doesn't deserve crap. At that age, there are no excuses for being horrible to those who only try to help. Basically, I got born because my mum had an affair with my biological dad, who was, and still is, married to another lady. I never knew my biological dad, but my mum got married to another man when I was still very small. My mum and stepdad aren't very nice to me. I don't think they like me much at all. I've always kind of dreamed of having a parent who did like me. So in January I found out my bio dad's name and tracked him down on Facebook. I messaged him letting him know who I am and stuff, and though he was initially shocked and disbelieving, but he eventually came around to wanting to talk to me. We chat every day and phone calls once a week. It was nice, even though we don't really know each other. It was kinda cool having a parent who wasn't mean to me. He lives far away, so we never got to meet in person yet. Well, 2 weeks ago, my dad's wife contacted me. I guess he hadn't mentioned to her that we were speaking, and she isn't very happy. She sent me a message basically explaining that she knew about the affair when it happened, and the terms of them staying together was that he cut all ties to my mother, including giving up his relationship with me. She says that that still stands and that by still talking to him, I'm causing lots of tension in his new family. She basically said that I'm putting them on the brink of divorce. I don't know what to do. Like I said, I really like having a parent who isn't mean to me all the time. But I don't want to cause problems for anyone. Would I be a bad person if I kept talking to my dad and we just tried to keep it more secret? Not the idiot, but all of the adults in this story are the idiots, including your dad. I'm so sorry that this has been your experience. Is there anyone else in your family that you're close to, an aunt, uncle or grandparent? Remember though, family doesn't have to be blood. You can make your own over the next few years, and that's okay. Not the idiot. You didn't ask for any of this, and whether or not they are having marital troubles and decide to divorce is not on you. If your biological father chooses to speak to and build a relationship with you, that is his choice. If he was the one asking you to stop, it would be painful, but at least you would know his choice to state it. Your bio dad may decide he cannot talk to you to preserve his marriage, but that is his responsibility, not yours. Let him know what his wife told you, and then it's up to him. The idiots in this story are your parents for not being nicer to you, and your bio dad's wife for pressuring him to disconnect.